the Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. In episode 133, Gabi Garland shares how she overcame domestic violence trauma and found joy beyond darkness.
I don't think anybody can help anybody until they've helped themselves. And so I really, and in tandem working with a therapist as well, was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I don't say that as to be dismissive of there's nothing wrong, but there was, like, when you talk about everybody has a vice, a thing that they do that numbs the pain. And for me, it was drinking, and for a little while it was eating. And so I think, we've all got ways that we cope, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're detrimental to our wellness. And once I figured out what mine were, I went really looking for what would help, and literally stumbled on somebody on Instagram. And I think that's when I know alignment is real, because she was somebody that's very intuitive, and started doing hypnosis work with her, and hypnosis unlocked things that I didn't even understand, because I think we do things because of this reason. And sometimes it's so much smaller.
Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast, a space where stories of strength and resilience and transformation unfold. I'm your host, Charlene Lynch, and I'm honoured to be your guide on this journey of empowerment and healing. Today we have a very special episode tailored just for you, whether you're driving, sipping a cup of tea, or simply taking a moment to yourself. I want you to know that you're in a safe place. Healing Through Love is more than a podcast. It's a community, a beacon of hope, and a reminder that you are not alone. In this episode, we have a guest who will share a story that resonates at the core of our mission, a story that illuminates the power of love, resilience, and unwavering strength that lies within each and every one of us. So settle in and take a deep breath and let the healing journey begin. But before we dive into today's inspiring narrative, a quick reminder that if you find value in our episodes, consider supporting us by subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your engagement helps us reach the hearts and spread the message of healing at the speed of love. Today, we've got a very special guest. Her name is Gabi, and she is a podcast producer and speaker. She is a certified NLP, so neuro-linguistic programming, trauma hypnosis, and Reiki attuned, host of her own podcast, Resilient Heart Podcast. Oh, I love that. She owns Resilient Heart Academy, focused on transformational healing, and works in healing retreats. Wow, that sounds fascinating. For women in beautiful locations. Count me in, I love retreats. She's a resilient voice medium and a podcast production and media agency. So lots of things happening in your world. And she turned her launch and message podcast into incredible messages. She believes that at the heart and soul of everything is your story. And that is where your power comes from. So let's start the conversation today, Gabi, with your story. Why are you here? How did you get here to do what it is that you're doing?
Oh, I think the biggest piece is so much of the healing work. I think there is no getting here without it. I think too often, one of the saddest things I think that happens for people just in general is they don't do the healing that they need to do. And so they never really get to step into who they're meant to become. And to me, that is not a life lived. It's a really sad way for a life to turn out. And so for the journey for me came from a little girl adopted. So I was adopted as a baby. I got to meet my birth mom at 21. She's incredible. Part of my story, unfortunately, is my birth father committed suicide when I was 10. So I never got to meet him. And then it was just kind of, living life, little girl growing up in a small town. I ended up meeting a man who online, I was a corporate trainer for AOL straight out of dropping out of high school, and was doing really well, getting promoted all the time, really living my life, loving and having so much fun. And met a man who lived in Florida, got together with him, ended up moving. Very shortly after that move, he became abusive. And much like many girls do, we don't leave. We make excuses. We think it's going to change. We feel like if I love him more, if I show him what love's supposed to look like, he's going to stop this, and I'm going to be different. I'm going to be the girl that makes him change. And the reality is that abusers don't change, they just get worse. And if you're lucky, you make it out. And I was lucky enough to have my daughter with him, who is literally the angel that saved my life. She is 24 years old now. She is a police officer and firefighter, volunteer firefighter. She's just this little Spitfire girl. She's 5'2", and she's just a little superhero. And I think she's when I think of a beacon from a storm, she is that. And so everything from that part of my life to what I get to do now with women, it was really trying to figure out how to get out of that space, how to get out of the patterns, how to stop being messy and drinking my feelings instead of feeling them. And I got married in 2017, and we lost a baby right away, unfortunately, just within a couple of months after we got married. And that was another layer of figuring out grief and trying to figure out myself. And then we had a little boy who's now 5, who has a heart condition. So he's had 3 heart surgeries and endless inpatient stays, and he's also autistic. And so there's just another layer of figuring out that love is action and not words, because we don't hear that from him. And so life has just been digging into those stories that have framed my life and figuring out ways for them to propel me forward, instead of making them ways that I use them as an excuse that I can't. My son is this, my daughter's this. And I think too often we use our story as an excuse not to, instead of an excuse and the fuel to push us in the direction of our dreams. And so that's all the work that I get to do with women every day.
So it's post-traumatic growth as opposed to post-traumatic, the opposite.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that comes with a choice. And I love that. We've all got these stories, and many of our listeners, you're still living in your stories.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose, it's great to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that we can live in spite of and because of the things that have happened to us, and that can help us champion others as well. I hear you. I'm a recovered alcoholic now, 9 years sober, but 30 years, I was pretty good at what I was doing, and I drank my feelings to just numb the pain of the internal torment that was happening, because exterior looked okay. It looked like as if I was doing, but the interior, all sorts of trouble. So I love this. So part of your story, that ability to articulate your story, that ability to share the story, whether it's talking on a podcast or talking to a friend, or just even if you're standing on stage and you're talking through your journey, I believe that we're sharing a wound, we're sharing vulnerability, so that we can connect more beautifully to the audience. I think we've all got these shared wounds, these shared vulnerabilities, and then it helps us identify and connect with the people that we're speaking with. I love this. I love the fact that you run a podcast, and predominantly it's about the power of the story and helping people get their story, and all of the beautiful healing modalities that you have that support your clients moving forward. So the clients that you currently are working with, are they going through their own healing journeys, or are they running businesses, or both?
There's both. So it really it started as me trying to figure myself out, because I don't think anybody can help anybody until they've helped themselves. And so I really and in tandem working with a therapist as well, was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I don't say that as to be dismissive of there's nothing wrong, but there was, like, you talk about everybody has a vice, a thing that they do that numbs the pain. And for me, it was drinking, and for a little while it was eating. And so I think, we've all got ways that we cope, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're detrimental to our wellness. And once I figured out what mine were, I went really looking for what would help. and literally stumbled on somebody on Instagram. And I think that's when I know alignment is real, because she was somebody that's very intuitive, and started doing hypnosis work with her. And hypnosis unlocked things that I didn't even understand, because I think we do things because of this reason. And sometimes it's so much smaller, it's so much more minute. And sometimes when we get to those really small life-shifting moments, it could just be a comment that somebody said that changed the way that our belief system was in our worthiness, or in our ability to make money, or our ability to be successful. And once we heal that wound, then we get to go on the other side of that and build whatever it is that we're meant to build. And I think it's not fun work. I would love to tell you that it's fun to dig through those messy pieces, but it's not, and it sucks and it's hard. But it's the most worthy investment. I feel like I don't think there's anything better than figuring yourself out so that you can be your best self, but also love the people in your environment in a way that's healthy, because I was not. And I was very hateful. I got in fights a lot. Like, I would start fist fights at bars. I mean, it was just the messy, the hatefulness, the self-loathing that was inside. I wanted everyone to feel it at all times. And it's funny now, because now it's just like, I just want to love everyone, and I just hug everybody, and all the babies want to snuggle with me. And it's just a shift that happened once I really figured myself out. And I think too often we think we are the messiest pieces, the hardest stories, the biggest struggles, and it's just a part of it. And once you understand it and you own it, then it takes the power of it away, and it takes the shame, and it allows you to let that part go, so that you can use that to be like, you know what? Yeah, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have this. And then it's like, oh, it's just part of it. And then you just use that step and step on and step on and step on. And I think it ends up being really beautiful if you can just own it and let that be a thing.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm from the school of thought that believes it's great for us to label our things so that others can more easily communicate with us. So they've got language, so that they've got like for like. I'm ADHD, so one of the things I notice is
Same.
when people tell me their stories, how I respond is telling them a similar story. And that's not me trying to one up people. It's how ADHD actually communicate. You
Yeah,
tell me
it's
your story, I'll
connection.
tell you mine. Like, it's a different language for us. It's how we turn up. So I
Yeah.
really noticed that me being able to language my particular. Look, I call myself neurospicy. That I can
Yeah.
language it, neurospicy, and tell of my challenges just by putting a label on it, like being a recovered alcoholic, being a recovered perfectionist. Then it just helps other people identify. And for me, I feel that it helps me bring myself closer to another person's story and connect with them, because they can identify different parts of my challenges and their
Yeah.
own, and we can connect at a different frequency. For me, it really works. But I understand there's lots of other people that say, oh, if you keep, labeling it, if you keep using that language, you'll stay in that space. I don't know. I have not found that to be true. I've found it to be a way for me to connect. People that speak to me now, they
Right.
can't imagine how I was 10 years ago. Like, it's just
Oh
so
yeah.
far from the level of reality that I have now. But I think it's important. And I think this is the foundation of community as well. And I know that
I
you're
think so
really
too.
strong on community and these sharing of
Yeah.
stories, and whether you label them or not, but that just allows us to share our wounds. I really firmly believe this is, I think it's something about the atomic bomb, but I can't go there. I don't even know how it works. But I just think that the language that we have is woundology, is that we speak wound, and this is how we have a level of connection. And it'd be great if we didn't all have wounds, but we do, and this is how we connect. And I believe this is how we create community. Now, you're strong on community, so tell me a little bit more about community,
Yeah.
where that fits in for you.
So I didn't know when I launched Resilient Heart podcast. It's almost been it's 4 years in August. So we're going into year 5 at this point. So it was really, uh, I was home with very deep postpartum depression. My son was going through, he had his first surgery, maybe he had his, when I started it, he'd already had his first and second surgery. He had another one that was coming, and we were inpatient a lot. He had a lot of complications on just different things that were going on. He's healthy despite it, which is an incredible gift. But I was very disconnected from the world, much like many of us were during the pandemic. And I really just wanted connection, is honestly what it was. I was like, I can't have gone through all of these things, that some of the lessons that I've learned and some of the things that I was learning about myself and healing, that couldn't help somebody. And that was just really the way I thought of it. And then it was, well, if my stories can help other people, then their stories can help people that I can't help. And so I really created the Resilient Heart podcast because I wanted women to have a space where they could talk about that stuff. Full disclosure, I'm a huge Eminem fan, and one of my favorite parts of Eminem's of 8 Mile is where at the end, when he tells the guy, he's like, all of my business. Like, he tells them everything about his life, who he is, all the messy stuff, and then he can't use it against him. And it was something that stuck with me years ago when the movie came out. It's like, if I, at some point, at that time, I was not ready to own anything, but it was something that it clicked with me at that point. Like, if I can own the ways that I have been in the world, or the things that I've done and mistakes that I've made, then it takes away the power, and it allows me to have that space to figure out what I want that to mean for me. And so Resilient Heart podcast became that. And so when I created, I didn't know that it would create community, that women would listen to other podcast episodes and add the person on Facebook, and then I see them, I have girls who go to lunch together that literally listen to an episode. And I hosted an event in my home state when I was there for Christmas, and it was about 15 girls. Some were clients that I hadn't met in person yet. Some were women that were podcast guests on my podcast. Some that had done some of the free things that I'd done. Some were just women that I had connected with. And I was like, oh my God, I would just love to hug her in real life. And I had hosted an event. I just bought $600-700 worth of appetizers. And I was like, let's just grub, have some drinks, and just hang out together. And it was the most beautiful night. And one of the women sent me a text voice clip, and she was like, I haven't been in a space like that with women ever. Like, I was in awe of, one, the support, the kindness, the love, the community, the way that everybody was there to just be together. There wasn't the mean girl stuff. There wasn't the this and this and oh, her dress, and oh, she shouldn't wear that. There was none of that. And I think when you get to a certain place in your own healing, you start attracting people that have that same gift for themselves, that they're just very authentically themselves. And that was a night that I was just like, oh man, I got to do something bigger. So that something bigger is coming. It was understanding, like, okay, message received. That's going to be, something for the future. Because I do think in spaces, when we look at social media, there's so much of the show me, the flash and the this and the that looks like success. And to me, success is a bunch of women that have never met each other, and that can sit together in community and love and kindness and hold space for each other and just have the most incredible energy, cry together. There was tears, there was holding hands, there was hugging. And I think, to me, that's what I love creating. I don't care what you drive. I don't care what clothes you wear. I like fancy things too, but I don't think that's what matters. I think building community so we can have somebody to hold our hand when we go through the scary stuff, I think that's what matters. And that's everything I do, from my podcast agency to the healing work, to the retreats, to everything.
Oh, I love it. That is a beautiful segue, Gabby, to talk about our Pamper Days. If you're listening today and you're a survivor of family and or domestic violence, then we've got Pamper Days for you. So they started here in Adelaide, South Australia, and they're now moving to every state in Australia. And think day spa on steroids. We have up to between 20 to 25 practitioners come. Some of them are hairdressers, some are makeup artists, others don't actually have a skill set, but they can give you a hand massage. Others just have a heart for change. We also have Reiki masters and everything you could possibly imagine in between that hold the space for these ladies for free for the day. And it's just a beautiful experience. We cry at the end packing up every single time. Just how beautiful, and the lives that we've helped change, but also give them an opportunity to see that there are people out there that really do genuinely care. There's no finance invested here. They're there just because they want to hold the space and make a difference. Most of the people that we work with are survivors themselves, and they are then a shining example of what's possible. And many of them move forward to mentor these girls. So they take them under their and the success stories of some of the girls coming back the next year and the year after as an exhibition themselves. So coming back to host their own stand. So it just from being in that community, being in that proximity with other women who've survived and are now taking the brave steps forward. So if you are a survivor, please reach out to Healing Through Love, and we'd love to tell you where they are in the local community. I'm very proud to say that as of 2023, Healing Through Love has gone global. So now we have these beautiful Pamper Days all over the world. So it doesn't matter where you're listening today, reach out to Healing Through Love. We'll point you in the direction of the local Pamper Days. And if you're a practitioner, we are actively looking for practitioners that can make a difference and hold the space. And it's just one day, but that day can just change the lives of so many people. So yeah, reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you and connect you to an organizer that's near you. Or if there's not one near you, maybe you'd like to come and take the challenge. We have a little program to teach you how to get them up and running where you are. Oh, I love it. I could talk with you all day. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this. I'd love to be a guest on your podcast and have a conversation.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to do that for sure.
Absolutely. About Mind Shift, the future of mindset, which is a beautiful 5-step process to show you that everything is possible in just 5 simple steps. It's a beautiful process. I love it. I love it. I'm passionately attached to it. And wow. To have all of this in one woman, to have gone through the process yourself and now go through and learn all these healing modalities and understand to hold this space for other women so that they can heal and run a podcast and these healing retreats. I have to know a little bit more about these retreats. I'm a little bit of a retreat junkie.
No, I love it.
Tell me a little bit about the retreats.
So the last one that we had was in San Diego. We had one in Nashville planned, but with the flooding that was going on and the hurricane, we unfortunately had to move it. So I'm looking at the rescheduled date. San Diego is a one that I do every year. That one will be happening again in probably June of next year. I'm finalizing the dates now. That one is the more fancy one. Like you get your hair and your makeup done when you're on the VIP side of things, and we have a chef that comes and cooks, and it's really every retreat is different based upon the ladies that are there. Some of the ladies, it's the first time I meet them. Some of them it's an extension of the work that they've done with me throughout the year. And I think the thing that I loved about the way the San Diego one was, it was just 3 ladies. There was 2 other ladies that were supposed to go and they weren't able to make it. But it was those 3 ladies that needed to be together. And I think too often we think it's got to be this big 40 women in a house. And because I live a crazy life with a little person who needs all the things, I don't want to create spaces where you feel like sardines stuffed into a mansion. I want it to be if possible, your own bedroom and bathroom. So you have your own space to retreat, because deep healing and transformation doesn't come when it's messy and loud and noisy in your environment. And so it's always these spaces where you can walk to the beach or you're walking into the mountains. And I think you have group sessions, you'll have one-on-one sessions with me, and then you just have time to have fun. This one, we ended up going on a whale watching tour, which we didn't see any whales, but we got ushered into a whole school of baby dolphins playing with their moms, and they were literally this big. Like I couldn't post the videos because I was squealing like a 3-year-old. I was like flipping out. It was the best. And so we went out for brunch and walked down by the pier, and it was the perfect combination between healing and vacation and relaxation with your new best friends. And to this day, like, these girls still talk to each other. We sent, one of them had gone through the hurricane, unfortunately, and we sent her a big care package, and they send each other birthday gifts. And it's not just that day or that weekend that you get to spend time and hang out. You're making lifelong friends that you're sitting with and holding space with as you're healing. And that, to me, that's everything, because we don't always have that in our immediate environment. And so sometimes you've got to make investments or go to different places so that you can build that community for yourself. So those are what the retreats are all about.
I love it. The power of sharing your own story and that connection of community. It's absolutely beautiful. In closing, can you share your final words of wisdom with the audience today?
My final words of wisdom, I think, is that there is no shame to be found in the things that you've been through. There is none. I think we have all got a story, and if we're brave enough to share when we're on the other side of the things that we've gone through, it is a way and a beacon for the people that have gone through the same storms to be able to lock in community with you and to share and to join with you and to know that they're not all by themselves. Because I think as connected as we are on social media and as connected as we feel like we are, there is so much disconnection and so much disingenuine. And I know that when you share your life, who you are and the things that you've gone through, you're able to connect with an audience that doesn't even know that about you. I can't tell you how many times I get on podcast episodes and I'm like, you too. And that to me is beautiful. That you too moment is just that click of like, that's my girl. That's who I'm meant to connect with. And I think don't shy away from that. And whatever healing looks like for you, I think the saddest way to live is to not do that work and then not make the impact that you're meant to make. And that means your family doesn't get the most beautiful version of yourself, and you don't get to be the most beautiful version of yourself in the world. And that, I think that's not it. And so if there's anything I can do to help anybody, even if it's just you need someone to cheer for you, if no one in your current environment cheers for you, like, I got you. I am the cheer girl. So I just think that's it.
I love it. That is so beautiful. They're beautiful closing words. Thank you so much for joining us today on Healing Through Love. It's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Gabi.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.